I'm going to share with you 3 steps to get ripped without any shadow of doubt so you can feel tremendous when you take your shirt off in public and have incredible confidence and energy. If you're confused about how to get ripped and you don't know what to do, watch every second of this video. Do not skip ahead. I want to be very clear. You can get ripped without any drugs or supplements, without needing to do any crazy diets or starve yourself, or even needing to lift heavy weights or any weights at all. So why should you listen to me? I've transformed my own body after working long hours as a finance analyst on Wall Street, and I lost 30 pounds. And I've had a 6-pack and been ripped for over 15 years straight ever since then. And I feel incredible at 41 years old. I've also helped busy professional men around the world, even guys with self-proclaimed bad genetics, get completely ripped. I've been featured on a bunch of media outlets as the go-to expert for busy professional men to get lean, fit, and healthy for life. But this video actually isn't just about getting lean, right? It's about getting ripped. This is the next level, which is a good segue to the next section, which is, what does ripped even mean? Ripped means a body fat percentage level below 10%. And now here are some examples. Here's what 20% body fat looks like, not ripped. Here's what 15% body fat looks like, not ripped. Here's what 12% body fat looks like, lean but not ripped. Now here's what under 10% body fat looks like. And as you can see here, you can see the striations in my muscles. You can see the separation between muscles. And when you've got veins over your freaking abs, that means you're probably pretty ripped, right? So this is a more extreme level of a low body fat percentage. Now, before we dive into the 3 steps to get ripped, I've got to ask you, are you sure you want to get ripped? As I mentioned before, getting ripped is a more extreme thing, right? 90% of US adults are over fat. So being lean is actually pretty extreme. Getting ripped is a totally different level. That's like the extreme of the extreme. It's not normal. It's not usual. It's not normal for someone to be ripped. So it takes a significant level of discipline and a whole different belief system for you to be ripped, assuming you're not a professional athlete or you're not a professional bodybuilder, right? It's just not a normal thing. So that's number 1. The second thing to consider is that this can open up some body image issues. And so if you feel like more of a man, if you have a ripped body, or you start attaching your self-worth to having a ripped body, that is a slippery slope, my friend, and we got to be careful with that. So now let's go into step number 1, which is overcome the mental weight hurdle. This is by far the most important step. It is the biggest block. It's a mental block that makes it impossible for guys to get results. If you're asking the question, I want to get ripped but stay the same weight, what do I do? Dude, you are done from the start. You've got a 0% probability of getting ripped. Here's why. Number 1 is you don't understand the basic math of getting ripped, and I'll share that with you in a moment. Number 2 is that you're probably too concerned with the scale and not body fat percentage, which is what it's all about. The scale doesn't matter. And you probably overestimate how much muscle you can gain naturally. A lot of dudes out there are taking steroids and different types of hormone like testosterone replacements, etc. And a lot of guys underestimate their body fat percentage. So if you think you're 15%, more likely than not, you're actually 20%. So a guy who thinks he's 20% is probably 25%. They're usually off. I've done a lot of these body fat calculations and tests. Most guys are off by at least 5% of where they think they are. So now let's go through a rip chart. Now let me hammer this home. We're gonna go through a get ripped chart. You can see we've got a 180-pound man. He's got 20% body fat, which means he has 144 pounds of fat-free mass, which is AKA lean body mass, right? And his fat is 38 pounds. So the question is, what does his weight need to be to get at 8% body fat? Well, at 8% body fat, we're going to assume he doesn't lose any muscle, so his fat-free mass is the same. It's 144 pounds. His fat, he needs to drop down to 13 pounds of body fat in order to get down to 8% body fat. And so what's his final weight, guys? It's only 157 pounds. So if you're 180 pounds at 20% body fat, to get down to 8% body fat, assuming you don't lose or gain any muscle, you need to drop down to 157 pounds. You might be thinking this is crazy, like that's so low. Like that's not manly or whatever. Well, that's a hang up you've got to overcome. Brad Pitt in Fight Club, like the standard of ripped, I've read in a number of different sources, he was 155 pounds for that role and he's 5'11". So the most important part of getting ripped is overcoming this mental weight hurdle, understanding the basic math of getting ripped, right? You're gonna have to lose a lot of body fat without losing any muscle. That is the game. If you wanna know your own get ripped body stats, I have a link below to an ideal body weight calculator. Step number 2 is to create your nutrition spreadsheet. Now, so there are many different ways to eat to get lean. There are many different ways to skin a cat, right? But you've got to eat fewer calories than you burn in order to lose body fat. It's just a law of physics. If you hear differently, it's just absurd and it's gonna confuse you. So if you stray away from this advice, you're fooling yourself and you're listening to terrible, terrible advice. The simplest eating strategy to get lean is simply create some meals in advance so that you know what the calorie levels are and what the macros are, and you don't have to constantly, enter into your calorie tracker like every single food you eat, because you already know in advance, hey, I'm gonna have this meal, and this meal, done and done. You already have it done in advance. This is an insane, huge hack, by the way. So the first thing is to create your calorie level. The simplest way to do this is just multiply your body weight times 10. Now, unless you're very, very active, that's a pretty darn good estimate for the amount of calories you should eat to start losing 1 to 2 pounds of body fat every single week. Second is set your macro level. And so somewhere around 40, 40, 30 in terms of protein, carbs, and fat breakdown, or 30, 50, 20 is a good set point or range for you to play with. So you can go crazy with macros and figuring them out. Don't worry about that. What matters is that you're staying full, your calorie level's solid, and you're getting at least enough protein, somewhere around your lean body mass in grams of protein per day. You'll be good, okay? So don't go crazy worrying about the details. Get that calorie level, eat so you're full, mostly unprocessed foods, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And finally, I highly recommend choosing a specific number of meals and snacks that you have each day so it makes it easy for you. So what I do, or what I recommend, is 3 meals, no snacks a day, keep it simple. Another idea is 2 meals, no snacks. Or if you want to add snacks, that's fine. I would be very careful because that can create compulsive type of behavior and it creates mindless eating. Now, here are some tips to create the best nutrition spreadsheet and essentially get ripped eating plan for you. Include everything on your spreadsheet. So if you normally have coffee with some sugar or some milk, that counts. If you have any alcoholic beverages, that counts. Any caloric beverages at all counts. Second is the leaner you become, the more specific you need to get and more precise you need to get with your nutrition. And the cool thing is that this nutrition spreadsheet should be able to handle that for you. Third is focus only on calorie intake, not calorie burn. A lot of guys, they start chasing their tail because they have, let's just say, like a big run or something. They start eating more. It's like, don't worry about the calorie burn. Only focus on the calorie intake and nail it. Nail it every day. Eating mostly unprocessed foods will make this much easier for you, so you're not gonna feel like you're starving to death all the time, right? You're gonna feel full and you're gonna be able to lose body fat every single week. And now finally, once you're ripped, you don't have to follow this spreadsheet, right? But in order to get there, I highly recommend following it religiously, day after day after day. So now we've got step number 3, which is do strength training, ideally 2 to 3 times a week or more if you want to, but my opinion is 2 or 3 times a week should be plenty. Any type of strength training that challenges your muscles will work. Why? Well, if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're using your muscles, you'll keep them. If you don't use your muscles, you'll lose them. And the whole point is we need to lose body fat without losing muscle. That's the game we're playing here. It's the same way to get lean as you do to get ripped. It's just taking it to a different level, right? So same principles apply. Now, in terms of a simple sample workout, again, let's keep it simple, guys. Do 1 leg, 1 push, and 1 pull. If you want to do accessory stuff like arms and core and abs, like, have fun, but let's just keep the basics and let's get the meat and potatoes done. So let me give you an example of a workout. You can do lunges for a few sets of 10. You can do push-ups for a few sets of, however many you can do, and then dumbbell rows for a few sets of 10. You can actually do them as a circuit to make it even faster and simpler. And again, you can add accessory exercises if you want, but the point is doing this 2-3 times a week, you're done, dude. You just gotta keep your muscle, that's all you gotta do. So as a quick recap, step number 1 is overcome the mental weight hurdle. A lot of guys have so many hangups about how much they need to weigh, but I'm telling you, if you wanna get ripped, you're gonna weigh way less than you think. And again, guys are also chasing their tail because they wanna constantly gain muscle. It's like, dude, lose the fat without losing muscle, get lean, get ripped, and then you can play around with building more muscle, right? Step number 2 is creating that nutrition spreadsheet so you know in advance the meals you have and the basic calorie level and macro breakdown. You don't have to constantly use a calorie tracking app, which is just annoying pain in the butt, and it's probably not as accurate as just putting in the work, doing it upfront in advance, and locking down those meals so you know what the calorie levels are, and then just following it religiously. So you're losing 1 to 2 pounds of body fat per week like clockwork. And then finally is choosing a strength training method 2 or 3 times a week so you keep your muscle as you lose only fat. That's it. 3 steps. Step number 1 is by far the most important. 2 and 3, a lot of guys, they can do it for some time, but not all the time. And so if that's you, if you're like, man, I just haven't been consistent, I've been struggling with my consistency, I struggle with my eating, that's the biggest challenge. Maybe I binge eat at night, maybe it's weekend spiral, maybe it's while you're traveling. Listen, if you're struggling with your eating or your exercise consistency, my team and I can help you. We've got a free breakthrough call where we can discuss what's going on with you, how you're doing, your biggest challenges, and ultimately your goal for what you want to do. If you're a good fit for our coaching program, we'll tell you more about how it works and how you can join. And I have a link below in the video description about how you can learn more about us and how we work and set up a free breakthrough call. No obligations or anything, man. So I hope this video has been useful for you and valuable for you. I'm telling you, there's a lot of golden nuggets in this video. Just watch it over and over again until it seeps into your brain. You don't need to look at 50,000 different videos out there. You got what you need to know in this video. I look forward to seeing you again soon.